ideas. Unity would say that ideas are something of a sacred human responsibility in the sense that the process by which we create our lives is from mind through idea to expression. Mind being that realm of infinite possibility, idea being those pieces of infinite possibility which we, as incarnate beings, grasp, articulate, and cultivate, and expression being how that process takes form in our visible world. And so it is that we welcome you to an idea, first grasped, articulated, and cultivated by a small group of souls in Linwood, Washington, who began meeting in a local living room to study, to pray, to practice. That idea has come to be known as Unity in Linwood. Best described as little more than a study group, these founders continued until September of 1981, when their meeting expanded into formal services held at Edmonds Community College under the leadership of Reverend Jerry Weeks. We might say that the idea was growing, being articulated, cultivated, and expressed by new people in new ways.
My name is Bob Franks. I started in Unity in 1983. They were in the middle of creating a new culture.
It was in March of the following year, only about 6 months later, that a letter was sent, and I quote, "We are well on our way toward the purchase of a church building on the corner of 56th and 238th.
The building was quite cozy, with a small sanctuary and rather rickety-looking offices downstairs.
The building had been used for refugee housing, so major renovations, from installing plumbing to building kitchens to painting rooms to cutting overgrown trees to clearing debris to digging ditches, were facilitated by members themselves, culminating in the first service in July of 1982. In November of 1982, Reverend Jerry resigned.
They were looking for a new minister. It took us 3 ministers to get to where we were going.
Following the interim leadership of Reverend Grover Thornsberry, Reverend June Miller, whose claim to fame included a Miss Alaska title, assumed leadership in August of 1983, followed by Reverend David Evans in '84. It's been written that while David might have thought like a metaphysician, he preached like a Baptist.
The church had to come out of what I'll consider chaos to create something beautiful.
And it was in the fall of 1988 that a then-licensed Unity teacher assumed the senior post.
We hired Ann Thomas in 1988.
When I moved up here in 1992, I discovered in Montlake Terrace that there was Unity for Today. So now I've been a member for 27 years.
I started attending Unity Church in January 1994, when the church was still located in Montlake Terrace. Ann Thomas was the minister, and Stephen Jacob was our pianist.
I decided I really wanted a spiritual home. And I went to Montlake Terrace, to the little church that Reverend Ann Thomas was the minister of, in 1994, and felt like this was the place I really wanted to be.
It took about 4 years for us to create enough income to really support the church.
Right away, I joined the Unity Quest class, which Ann taught, and where I had the pleasure to meet Ron and Dina Willingham. There was a lot of laughter in that class, alongside the deep discussions.
And the tenure of Reverend Ann Thomas would continue for the next 23 years, until her retirement in 2011. In 1996, the community sold that building in Montlake Terrace.
Our building was way too small. We decided to increase the size of Montlake Terrace building, but it didn't work. So we had to build a new building.
And since the new owners didn't need pews, the members moved all but 4 to their next location, which was a dance studio.
The walls were cement, the floor was cement, there were very few windows, and it was often exceedingly chilly. After that, we met in a conference room in a hotel while belly dancers performed in a nearby room
The community moved to the Hotel International.
at a sunny restaurant on 196th Street.
There is very slight chance that the owners will renovate the room and turn it into a sushi bar. But don't worry. And the children continued to gather in rented motel rooms, lobbies, hallways, and even public parks.
We spent 8 years as a community putting it together to build the new church. With all the ups and downs, it was the community working together and using unity principles of prosperity thinking to create this building.
We came in 1997. We were looking for someone. We wanted a unity minister to marry us in May of that year, knowing full well that we would have the perfect answer when it came, Reverend Ann Thomas. He invited us to come to services that Sunday, and they were held at Martha Lake Community Center at that time because this beautiful church that we're sitting in was still a vision at that time.
In the face of every challenge, from the lender request to raise an additional $50,000 in 60 days, to problems with sewer access, to the appearance of protected salmon in the adjacent stream,
This project was deemed necessary because this region's watershed is critical for salmon to spawn.
to the necessary architectural redesigns, it's been written that the collection of souls known as Unity in Linwood only grew in community, under their adopted motto, "Come see what faith can do."
And that's probably the biggest thing that I enjoy was the people and their willingness to come together and to create something much bigger than themselves.
Yet again, the idea was growing, being articulated, cultivated, and expressed by new people in new ways.
Unity in Linwood. It's been such a important part of my life since 2001.
We have been coming to Unity Church in Linwood for 20 years, which seems like an awfully long time. We came here, like many young families, because we needed a spiritual home for our young family at the time. We had come from different traditions and were looking for a different place, a different kind of place. And I think after 20 years, we can safely say that we found it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. My husband Ken and I and our kids have been involved with Unity Church in Linwood for almost, 18 years now.
I actually came to this community around 2003 when the building was constructed. I didn't know that at the time, and neither did my family, but I have been here since then. Been part of the youth programs.
So yeah, our primary concern was we really need to bring our children up in some kind of spiritual tradition that was different from what we grew up in. But we also, when we found Unity in Linwood, we found that, there's something for us grown-ups too. It wasn't just for the kids.
And so wanting to introduce my daughter to Unity, I brought her here, having never attended.
The congregation was small enough that at that time, we all joined hands and formed a circle. And the pianist, who was Stefan, played "Let There Be Peace on Earth" and "Let It Begin With Me." And we all held hands and sang. When we first came here, when this building was first built, the congregation was small enough that we would all circle around and hold hands and sing the peace song at the end of the service. And our 3-year-old daughter sort of slipped through our fingers and ran into the middle of the circle and started to dance.
This community has always been very loving and accepting and just very supportive in a lot of ways.
Upon Reverend Ann's retirement, the search committee wrote, We seek a visionary leader to support us as we instill our spiritual community with a deep sense of connection. We look forward to creating a dynamic community that will attract new members. The ideal candidate will inspire spiritual growth through an effective and compelling Sunday message, enliven foundational unity principles, and take us well beyond toward spiritual maturity. It was released in the August 2011 newsletter that Reverend Mary Omwake had been secured for the senior leadership post of Unity in Linwood. Reverend Mary's notable tenure was followed by the community's unanimous hire of Dr. Richard Loren Held in September of 2013.
Good morning, Unity in Linwood. Good morning. It is a delight to see you.
In the years since, UIL has become a destination for acclaimed guests, such as Bishop John Shelby Spong, Marianne Williamson, Reverend Dr. Bishop Barbara King, Reverend Dr. Temple Hayes, Donald Neil Walsh, Dr. Joan Borisenko, Reverend Howard Caesar, Reverend Dr. Roger Teal, and so many more. As a community, we've completed 2 refinance efforts, installed a wedding and event gazebo, incorporated We Care Academy, produced national practicums addressing matters of race, hosted countless acclaimed musicians, acquired the adjacent 5.5-acre nature preserve.
The Snohomish County Planning Department was very satisfied and designated this buffer zone to be a native growth protection area in perpetuity.
And even now we work to launch a locally sourced organic vegetarian restaurant as a nod to the roots of the Unity movement. In those same years, even while navigating the demands of a global pandemic, Unity in Linwood has welcomed newcomers into our expanding community with vigor and celebrated the licensing and ordination of 2 new Unity ministers, Reverend Dr. Richard Loren Held and Reverend Nina Clark. Yet again, it seems clear that the idea has continued to grow, being articulated, cultivated, and expressed by new people in new ways. For spiritual seekers, it took a period of 40 for the earth to be purified, a period of 40 for the emancipated slaves to become a unified nation, a period of 40 for Moses to realize those so-called 10 Commandments, a period of 40 for David to defeat Goliath, and so forth. These periods of 40 ultimately total in the hundreds when Jewish and Christian scriptures are combined, and even more when Islamic and other Middle Eastern scriptures are added. It seems clear that 40 is important, you see. As metaphysical thinkers, we might say that 40 is the whatever it takes to get from one level of consciousness and expression to another. So in this, Unity in Linwood's 40th year as an intentional spiritual community, let us understand this moment as something of a threshold, intuited as a point of sacred power and holy possibility for millennia. 40, a juncture appropriate to a deep gratitude for what has been, starting even with those founders gathered in that living room. Let us acknowledge all whose hands and hearts articulated, cultivated, and expressed this idea that we, as adults and youth alike, continue to cherish. An idea which has in some way shaped us into the people we've become. 40, a juncture appropriate to a deep faith in what will be. Let us ask how this idea, an idea rooted in the singularity of God, the nobility of life, the creativity of thought, the equality of humanity, the value of diversity, the validity of all spiritual traditions and beyond, how this idea, which has now found its way into our collective caretaking, might be articulated, cultivated, and expressed by us to welcome the next generation of spiritual seekers. And 40, a juncture appropriate to a profound love for all with whom we share the journey.
We've been blessed to be here throughout all the years and the joys of being part of this spiritual community. Happy birthday, Unity in Linwood. we're thrilled to be here.
My life has been very blessed and enriched by being a member of this church, and thank you for inviting me to share some memories.
So I look forward to many more years here volunteering and attending Unity. Thank you.
We're very happy to celebrate this birthday, and we're very happy to be part of this wonderful community.
I am very, very blessed. I'm very pleased to be part of this community and call it my family.
So much richness has helped us grow as a couple,
Yes.
as a family, and as human beings on this planet. So we are very grateful to be part of this spiritual community.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what is carrying us forward today, is that part of community, which is really powerful.
There's no other place like it.
Namaste. My love to you all.
The seed. It is said that from little acorns, mighty oak trees grow, and beautiful flowers come from tiny seeds you sow. It takes sun, soil, and rain for life to begin this way, and it takes perseverance for it to continue day to day. 40 years ago, a precious seed was planted, and it grew, because it was taken care of by dedicated people who knew, even though at times they would face challenges galore, theirs was a divine vision that was worth striving for. 40 years ago, Unity in Linwood started from an inspired seed that has grown into a beautiful, welcoming community indeed, where compassion, inclusion, and especially love are all around. An inspiration for your life's journey can frequently be found. A biblical mystical number, 40, was often used to denote a time of preparation that involves struggle, growth, and the beginnings of a firm foundation. If the last 40 years has been a journey for UIL to grow and prepare, imagine what the next 40 will bring with inspiration and loving care. UIL's founders created resilient roots from where its growth has sprouted from. And as that vision continues to thrive and grow, the best is yet to come.